Welcome to a sparkling new podcast from Mike Parry and Mike Graham. We're the two Mikes.
Actually, it sounds even better when you do it Dullsville, because when you try to be happy and excited and energetic, you sound pathetic. Quite dark underwater, apparently. And well, it is dark. There's no light.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the two Mikes on talkSPORT. The skies are darkening over Qatar this morning as the German newspaper publishes the full details of the suppressed FIFA report, from 2014 that casts more doubt on the bidding process for the 2022 World Cup. And as other Gulf states seek to shut Qatar down, surely now is the time to just call off the whole thing while there's still time. 08717 22 3344. We're talking to Henry Winter ahead of the England under-21 clash later on with Germany, but it's a rather inauspicious date. Exactly 1 year ago today, England crashed out of the Euros after losing 2-1 to Iceland, thanks to Roy Hodgson. And in 2010, on this very same date, Germany knocked England out of the South African World Cup. So I'm not sure what that means for the game later on today, which is live, of course, on talkSPORT. You're listening to the two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on talkSPORT. This is talkSPORT. We are the two Mikes, and I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike Porky Parry. A very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
A very good morning to you, Mike. I do not appreciate you stirring up this anti-Porky moaning brigade, you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Well, you know, you're trying to say that I'm moaning too much. I've got a very serious affliction.
So you're going to do some more moaning while you defend yourself,
No, I've gritted my teeth now for the best part of a week.
Really?
Crippling injury that...
Crippling injury, as Mr. Brazil just said.
Yeah.
He's had sciatica all of his life.
Yeah.
You don't hear him moaning about it. I've never heard him moaning about it.
He hasn't had it as bad as me.
Really?
And,
even though he's a professional footballer?
Well, he's a professional footballer, a very good professional footballer, but you've got to remember that I was diagnosed yesterday as having both my sciatica trapped between discs, but also my the nerve that goes down the
What's the
front.
name of the other one?
The femoral.
Femoral?
The femoral nerve, yeah. What's your problem?
I don't think that's quite right. But anyway, carry on.
It is. And,
feral probably is more
No, it's the femoral. And you know, it's somewhat.
Really?
But I still have to be extremely difficult how I tread.
What was the name of the doctor you went to see?
That is irrelevant. And you know, I am slowly getting stronger, but I'm not moaning or whinging.
It sounds like it.
No, I'm not. I'm saying it would have floored many people. It hasn't floored me because I have a determination.
Maybe what we should do is have a Twitter poll. Would you like to hear any more about Porky's sciatica problem, or would you prefer him to shut up?
No, I think...
we'll have a yes or no. What do you think?
Excuse me, I think the poll should be, do we think Porky's been extremely brave to carry on?
No, that's not going to be what it is.
Yeah, I think it should be.
Well,
I think it should be.
You could do your own poll if you wish.
No, you do the poll, but you make sure it's not loaded in favour of you all the time.
The question will be, do you want to hear any more about Porky's sciatica problem?
Yeah.
Or would you prefer him to shut up?
No,
that's the poll.
Well, that's aggressive. I agree with the first bit. Do you want to hear any more about Porky's sciatica problem? Or the second one, do you think he should keep the problem to himself?
You see,
because the only reason I talk about it is because millions of people are interested,
no,
and
not.
I'm followers and listeners and those who, you know, have a heart.
Absolute rubbish. Anyway, let's talk about something more important, which is, of course, the skies darkening, as I suggested earlier, over Qatar, which is being painted variously as a rogue state by Saudi Arabia and various other places. They want to shut down Al Jazeera. They want to shut down the country.
All travel in and out.
All travel in and out.
Yeah.
The reason they say they want to do it is because they believe that they are supporters of ISIS.
Yes.
They believe that Al Jazeera is a propaganda machine for ISIS.
A mouth for them.
In addition to all of that, of course, we've had all the background problems of the Qatar World Cup, which was granted to them some years ago by FIFA, right? And what we're now discovering is that this report by Mr. Garcia from FIFA, who resigned shortly after it was published, was in fact nothing like the report that FIFA put out. And in fact, what he's saying is in the original report is that there are some very, very serious questions about, should we not just say to Qatar, look, you've got too many problems right now on your plate to even consider hosting a World Cup. We don't care whether you've built some of the stadiums. We don't care whether you think that by 2022 everything's going to be fine and dandy 5 years from now. The bottom line is that it's time to move it, and it's time to move it now. That's what I think.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. For once, we're singing from the same hymn book and speaking from the same text. I mean, the point is that the original problem with Qatar was twofold: heat and location, i.e.
and lack of facilities, really.
Well, that was never going to be a problem because they've got so much money they could build them.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is to have 9 new stadiums in a place which is about the size of sort of half of Wales is...
I'm not sure it's even that big,
It's not even that big. It's about...
the size of the centre of London or something, isn't
Well, it will be eventually, yeah, the habitable bit of it where the stadiums are. It seems to be a pretty preposterous thing to sort of do. But now... The Build have done extremely well here because they've led on a lot of these stories. They led on a lot of leaks that happened on the internet and all that. But as you quite rightly say, the original report from Michael Garcia was so badly edited by FIFA, not just edited, it was suppressed.
Well, it was deliberately edited in a way to make it look better than it actually was.
It was redacted, it was edited, it was suppressed, and it was changed to make it look like a favourable report, so much so that Michael Garcia, the author of it, came out immediately, it was published, and said, that's not my report. And he quit. So he immediately said, strike my name from it, it's not mine. What Build have done now is they've got the original report, which wasn't altered and sanitised by somebody inside FIFA. And that report is damning about the operation that went on behind the scenes to get Qatar the award of the World Cup.
Yes, exactly. But surely the point now is that, we've argued about this backwards and forwards. People had said, basically, they'd given up on trying to move it because FIFA were kind of immovable.
Yes.
Well, we're going to be talking to Martin Ziegler a little bit later on from the Times about this.
Yes.
What has happened to FIFA since Sepp Blatter stepped down?
Nothing.
Really.
Nothing at all.
The way that the place is being run doesn't seem to have changed. The way that they appear to be thinking themselves completely and utterly, out of touch with the rest of the world, not interested in what anybody thinks of them, not particularly guided or ruled by outside laws.
No.
Nothing at all has changed.
One bunch of incompetent buffoons, one bunch of, sort of hopeless dolts has been replaced by another.
By another
it's
load.
quite as simple as that.
And the first load might have been a bit more corrupt than this lot, but we're not really sure.
Well, we don't know yet, do we? And the point is, the whole ethos of FIFA is all about corruption.
Yeah.
We know that now because of the unmasking that's come about.
Well, we've heard in this now unmasked report stories of Qatar flying people in a Qatar private jet.
That's right.
To Brazil.
Yes.
For all sorts of nefarious reasons.
That's right, yeah, absolutely. So what we're saying is here now, we're saying that it is ridiculous to keep going ahead with the plans to have the World Cup in Qatar in 2022. Is that what we're saying?
I think we are. I think we have to make a very strong stand. I think the British football associations have to collectively go to Qatar, go to FIFA and say, look, we're not going. I mean, obviously, if you're Scotland, you probably won't be going anyway.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we just have to say we are not going and we are not going to have anything to do with promoting Qatar.
Yeah.
We are of the opinion that this is a rogue state and whatever you like, whatever you think about it, it is not going to be any fit state in 5 years from now to host any kind of tournament.
I would further that proposition and say that if the combined football associations of the United Kingdom go there and say, you've got to take the World Cup away, there are going to be too many problems. And as you've pointed out, Qatar might not even exist as an independent state by 2022.
I really don't think it will.
And then the British football associations can, as a combined effort, make the offer to bring the World Cup to this country in that year.
Yes, exactly right.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
We want to hear from you. 08717 22 3344. I know we've had this conversation before, but things have moved on now. Qatar is being isolated.
Dramatically.
Qatar is being isolated by its fellow Gulf states. It now appears that the original FIFA report was redacted to an extremely prejudicial extent.
Yes.
And now that we know the full truth of the matter, surely this is the time to stop the World Cup in 2022 in Qatar. Would you like to give the number out in your own inimitable way?
I will give it out in my own inimitable way because this is a very, very important subject.
Yeah.
The number to call is 08717 22 33 44. Pick up the phone and dial now.
Also, go to the Two Mics on Twitter, at the Two Mics, and vote on this question. Do you want to hear more about Porky's sciatica, or would you rather he just shut up? This is talkSPORT.
Very unfair.
We're going to talk to Martin Ziegler, Chief Sports Reporter for the Times newspaper,
Indeed.
because this morning we are learning more and more and more about the original FIFA report, which was suppressed to some extent a couple of years ago. It was made by an American lawyer by the name of Mr. Garcia.
Yeah.
It now appears that while there may not be absolute and utter smoking guns all over the place, there's certainly a lot more questions about whether Qatar is fit and proper as a nation to host the World Cup. And with all the other political stuff flying around at the moment, I just don't see how it's possible for them to even get on with it. Let's find out what Martin thinks. Martin, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike and Mike.
Yes,
hi, Martin.
Here we are, Martin. I don't suppose anyone's particularly surprised, but Build have done pretty well to get a hold of this. Have you seen anything else that they've got that we haven't seen yet, as it were?
No, I think they're promising that the main bulk of the revelations are going to be in the edition tomorrow, so we'll probably start seeing this coming out this evening.
Right.
But what they have shared already is quite interesting. There's a suggestion that there's an email from a former FIFA Executive Committee member to the Qatari FA thanking them for the transfer of several €100,000 just after they were awarded the tournament. There's questions about the integrity of the bidding process because of the using their Aspire Academy, the resources from that to curry favour with members. So there's plenty of sort of, as you say, maybe not the sort of the killer blow in terms of their World Cup hopes, but it has been so mired in controversy over the years, and it's one thing after another. And now this is yet more questions about whether they actually should host the tournament.
Well, absolutely right, Martin. And the thing is, we always try, when we're reporting sport, to keep away from politics as much as we can, but we can't in this case. It's inextricably linked. And what is the effect of the sanctions imposed by other Middle East countries, led by Saudi Arabia, onto the position of Qatar? I mean, we're talking about whether or not people will even be able to travel in and out of the country. All this surely must impound on its suitability as a World Cup venue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure FIFA are really concerned about exactly what's going to happen in the Middle East, because it is a really big issue. And actually, some people are actually connecting the leaking of this Garcia report.
Yes.
To what's been happening in Saudi Arabia, because I mean this report was done by an American. It's been in the hands of American law enforcement officials, and Donald Trump has been obviously well behind the Saudis and the action that they've taken against Qatar. So it's not beyond the bounds of
No, it's not.
possibility.
In fact, when you think that the President Trump has visited Saudi Arabia, who knows whether or not this might have been on the agenda at the time.
I'm sure it will be very surprising if it's not, because it was the Americans who were beaten by Qatar. Don't forget, back in 2010.
Yeah.
And if anyone's, that sparks the whole investigation into the FIFA scandal. So that's probably a very good shout as to why this is now surfaced.
But surely as well, in addition to all of that, Martin, whether or not there is skullduggery afoot from the point of view of the United States of America, you're basically dealing with a country here, Qatar, which is under attack, diplomatically certainly, and maybe under attack in some other ways coming up very soon. They're talking about shutting down Al Jazeera. They're talking about shutting down beIN Sport, presumably as well. They're talking about shutting down the entire country, really, and blockading it effectively. So, I mean, there's not really any possibility, I would have thought, that this country's even going to be there in 5 years.
Well, FIFA's hope, I would guess, is that they'll go through to Russia, and then they will, because they've got 4 years until then to decide what to do. And I think if things continue the way they are, then it's going to be very, very difficult. But I think FIFA will play a waiting game until then. I'm also fascinated to see actually what they're actually going to say about Russia in the Garcia report, because when the summary was published in 2014. All it said about Russia was that they had destroyed their computers, so there were no emails available.
Right.
So,
well, they all say that, don't they? I mean, there's a place in Switzerland, I think they can probably find all those emails. But isn't it also too late, really, to stop what's happening in Russia? I mean, the Russian World Cup will go ahead purely and simply because, it's only a year away.
Oh yeah, that'll go ahead. I mean, and the Qatar World Cup would go ahead if we're just looking at what was in the Garcia report. But as you quite rightly point out, that things are a lot more complicated.
Well, yeah,
they certainly are. And for that reason, Martin, is there anybody bright enough at FIFA, which is such a mishmash mess of a new administration to replace the corrupt old one? Oh yeah, sure. Is there anybody bright enough at FIFA who's now making contingency plans to take the World Cup in 2022 somewhere else?
Yeah, I think things are going to be bubbling under, because one of the countries that's taken action against Qatar is Bahrain.
Yes.
The head of the Asian Football Confederation and FIFA Vice President Sheikh Salman, he's from Bahrain.
Right.
So it's going to be really, really interesting.
It is.
They're not going to make any decisions, I reckon, for some time.
Yeah.
But they'll just keep their powder dry. But I think the political situation is the biggest threat by far to Qatar hosting that World Cup.
And is there anything that you think the English FA or the other FAs around the United Kingdom should be doing at the moment as well?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think the one thing that the FA shouldn't do is get in touch with FIFA and say, oh, by the way, we're ready to host this, because FIFA know that there are certain countries could host the World Cup, within a couple of months' notice, and they know England's one of them. So I think if you start trying to put yourself forward, then actually you antagonise people.
Yeah, and also you look as though you're opportunists, don't you? Rather than trying
heaven
to
forbid.
Heaven
forbid. Opportunists in the World Cup business.
No.
Awful,
Opportunists rather than trying to expose the corruption that lies within the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
If FIFA decided they wanted to hold something at short notice without having a bidding process, well, they're not going to give it to America because they've already given them 2026.
Exactly.
So they would look for something which can hold it, be a commercial success at very short notice. Yeah. Don't have to build any new stadiums. Yeah. And as we know, England could easily do that. So
exactly.
The FA shouldn't do anything. The FA should just keep their powder dry. Yeah. If David Gill, the FIFA vice president, if he has a sort of completely confidential conversation with Infantino just to say we can help you out if you need it, then that's fine. But don't do anything beyond that.
Sure. And what, Martin, as far as FIFA is concerned, has actually changed within the organisation since we saw the departure of Sepp Blatter. We saw those arrests being made. We saw the US Attorney's Office getting very worked up. It's all gone very quiet, and FIFA has gone back into its shell collectively, and we don't really know what's going on.
Yeah. So, since Infantino took over, basically there's been a bit of a power struggle between the old guard and him, and it's got a bit messy. So there's been lots of allegations made against him. He's taken sort of action. He's basically got rid of the investigators, put in his own people. Which has led to criticism of Infantino himself. But I think, one thing for certain, there is far less of the sort of arbitrary handing out of money and favours that was just rife when Blatter was there, that's for sure.
Sure.
Incredible. And also, as it's been pointed out here by one of our tweeters, Becky, she says, Qatar invested billions in the UK. They own Harrods, the Shard, the Olympic Village, and will we get all of these back? I mean, that's another intriguing question, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a sort of that's a commercial thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
It's a sort of, I mean, one thing Qatar's not going to lack is money for lawyers.
No, that's right. Absolutely.
No, but if they cease to be a recognised state, then I don't know what that means for all of the financial.
Well, they've still got all the gas
implications.
Remember.
Well, they have.
Got more gas than anybody else in the world.
Yeah, they have. But I'm talking about. It's not inconceivable here that there's some kind of military situation that occurs.
I totally agree.
Where the gas is taken off them.
I totally agree.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, the gas will still be sold, and somebody will still reap the profits from it. And
well, it may not be Qatar, though.
Well, whoever it is, there's going to be a lot of money coming out. And if you're saying that the country's taken over, they take over the assets, which include Harrods, and include all the investments they've made in this country.
It's a fascinating situation, Martin. Listen, we'll keep a close eye on it. Thank you very much indeed. Martin Ziegler there from The Times, keeping us updated on what is going on at FIFA, which sounds as though, as he says, there's still a big fight going on internally between the old guard and the new guard.
Yes.
So they don't really know what to do.
Yes.
I mean, it sounds to me like they're all going to sit there twiddling their thumbs and just waiting to see what happens after the World Cup in Russia.
Absolutely.
From what Martin says, it's too late then.
It's too late.
They have to do it now.
Right, I want to make a challenge to you before we go to the break, right?
Yeah, well, just keeping an eye on the final whistle on the rugby.
Yeah,
as well.
we're keeping on a. Now, if it was coming to Britain, right?
Yeah.
So, England, it's coming to England.
What, you mean the World Cup?
The World Cup comes to England.
2022.
2022.
Yeah.
I want you to write down the 9 stadiums you would nominate.
Okay.
You have to have 9 stadiums.
Right.
You write down 9, and I'll write down 9.
Okay.
And we'll see who gets it most right.
9.
9.
Now, I can give you an update, by the way.
Yeah.
The question of the day at the moment, there are many questions. We want to hear from you, of course, on the Qatar thing. Surely now's the time to cut the ties. Now's the time to pressurise. Now's the time to stop the World Cup going to Qatar. 08717 22 33 The other question of the day, which is pinned to the top of the Two Mikes Twitter account, do you want to hear more about Porky sciatica, or would you rather we just shut up?
Yeah.
Tell us more, 43%. Make it stop. 57%.
Well, that balance will soon change.
You think so?
Once the Porky Army get in gear, man, and realise that realise that I'm being.
They haven't all been let out of their secure accommodation yet, have they? Anyway, once they are, they'll probably start voting for you.
That I've been unfairly treated in the most terrible way. They'll get busy. Don't you worry about that.
I'm not worried about it. TalkSPORT, we are the Two Mikes. Got loads of texts and tweets coming in. You can text us, of course, at 81089. Email us at talksport.co.uk. And you can find us, of course, on Twitter at the Two Mikes. Here's one from Ray, who says, although it would be great to host the World Cup, it should really go to Australia or the US, who bid against Qatar. Yeah, lots of people suggesting that it should go somewhere else anyway, that's for sure.
Yeah, but Australia haven't got the facilities to host a World Cup at the moment, to be honest. I mean,
but we're talking 5 years away.
Yeah, but it might not be 5 years' notice. It might be 2 years' notice.
Well, that's why I'm saying. But that's why I'm saying we have to say now whether it's going to happen.
Yeah, but we talked to Martin Ziegler, an expert on it. He said nothing's going to happen for a couple of years, right? So if it's short notice, the only country in the world equipped to do it is, well, England. Or America. America have got 26 anyway, so it's got to be England.
Yeah, but that's the point I'm making. You know, we need to know now. We can't wait 2 years to decide whether or not Qatar actually is in a fit state to run anything. We can't wait 2 years to discover whether or not Qatar is actually still in existence as a country. Yeah. You know, we need to know now.
Can you really imagine that FIFA would have the initiative to look forward 5 years and say, look, we can see the dark clouds gathering over Qatar. It might not even be there. Let's find somewhere else.
Well,
they won't.
But if you'd said to me 2 years ago, can you imagine, a federal officers walking into a Swiss hotel and arresting a whole load of FIFA board members and then locking some of them up in America, you would have said, absolutely, that's never going to happen.
And locking the rest of them up in Switzerland. I totally agree with you, but that happened overnight, bang, and something like that's going to happen in Qatar. Right. That's why we need a country equipped to do it at a minute's notice. That only country is England.
Well, let's talk to Paul, who's up in Doncaster, and find out what he wants to say. Paul, very good morning to you.
Morning, how are you, lads?
Yeah,
very good,
very good. What do you reckon, Paul?
I totally agree with what you just said.
Yes.
There's only one country in the world at the minute with the stadia, the transport infrastructure, to cope with a major football tournament. And 5 years is short notice.
It is quite short notice.
When in 2010 it was announced that Russia and Qatar were going to host the World Cup, weren't it?
Yes, it was, yeah.
So the 5 years in now to planning. 7 years into planning.
Yeah.
And nothing's been done so far in Qatar as far as I can see. Well, it's an hotbed.
Yeah, in Qatar, they have actually built a stadium because they wanted to build one first.
Well, they built a bunch of stadiums, haven't they?
Well, they're building a bunch of stadiums, but they've completed one and all the air conditioning's in and all that kind of stuff, and it seems to be working. But that really is part of their plan, that if we build everything and we have the infrastructure years ahead of the competition, they can't take the competition off them. Do you see what I mean?
But what you said earlier is totally true. Is Qatar even going to be there in 2000?
It may not be.
Well, I think that is a much more important question, Paul, because yes, we know...
It's a boiling point at the minute.
Yeah.
FIFA can't take the risk of planning to host the World Cup in 5 years' time in a country that might not exist.
Yeah. Well, that is a very salient point, as long as the football fan understands that.
It makes no sense at all to hold a World Cup in a place where, as Paul says, one, it might not be there, but two, it's going to be under intense pressure. Yeah. It's going to be a very different place in 5 years' time from what it is now.
It is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
08717 2233 4. No. A couple of people suggesting that maybe a UK and Ireland World Cup would work better. You could then also use the Millennium Stadium, etc. Because you said to me earlier, write down 9 stadia that would be used.
That's right.
I would guarantee you, I would almost certainly guarantee you that our list of 9 stadiums will be exactly the same.
Well, it might be similar, but I mean, go on, give me your 9.
I got Wembley.
Yeah.
I got the Emirates.
Yeah.
I got the Etihad.
Right.
I got Old Trafford.
Yeah.
I got White Hart Lane. I got Anfield.
Yeah.
I've got the Millennium Stadium because we used it for the FA Cup finals. There's no reason not to use it for a World Cup.
Yeah, but you're talking about Wales being included.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, even if it's only England, because during the Rugby World Cup, England actually held rugby games in Wales. Right. Twickenham, which you could use, and the London Stadium.
And the London Stadium?
Yeah, West Ham's home ground.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that's a mishmash.
What?
Well, to start off with...
which one of those stadiums wouldn't you use for the World Cup?
Well, I'll give you my list, because you've got to spread it geographically as well.
You haven't put Goodison on it, have you?
No. The stadiums are Newcastle...
What?
...for the North East.
Right.
Old Trafford for the North West. Liverpool for the North West.
Yeah.
Aston Villa for the Midlands.
Rubbish.
Elland Road for Yorkshire.
What?
And then south, you would do Wembley, the Emirates... Spurs will have a great stadium, but they're in North London as well, so it would have to be the new Chelsea Stadium. And then the last one would be on the south coast, Southampton.
That's rubbish.
No, it's not. That's brilliant.
Absolute nonsense.
No.
What I've given you is the 9 top stadiums in the country,
Yeah,
right?
but you haven't got any geographical spread.
I don't care about that.
They're all too concentrated.
No, rubbish.
They're concentrated either in the northwest or in London.
Doesn't make any difference.
Where's your Midland Stadium?
It doesn't make any difference.
Where's your Midland Stadium?
What do you think we live in the United States of America?
Where's your Midland
It takes
Stadium?
an hour to get to Birmingham on the train from London. It takes an hour to get to Birmingham on the train from Manchester.
Where's your North East Stadium?
I don't have a North East Stadium.
Well,
but you're telling me that you have a World Cup and you put a substandard stadium in place of a much more modern and bigger stadium. That's madness.
Who said Newcastle was a substandard
Newcastle
stadium?
is substandard to the Etihad. Yes, it is.
Yes, but
it
it's
is also
250 miles away.
Aston Villa is substandard
Aston Villa
to the London Stadium.
Is one of the gold nuggets of stadium in this country.
You see, your problem is you live in the 1970s.
I don't.
You've got Leeds and you've got Aston Villa, both teams who were great in the 1970s, but whose stadiums are now no longer fit for purpose for a World Cup.
They are, honestly.
Not true.
They are.
Absolute rubbish.
And Southampton on the south coast, very much so. It's south coast. It's a great stadium, and
you won't.
And you don't need every stage. It is.
Not enough capacity.
It is. Lots of World Cups I've been to have capacities of 30,000, 34,000.
Let me put it to you this way. As much as we have given FIFA a going over this morning, they are still the people who would choose which stadiums would be used,
That's right.
They would not accept your list, they would accept mine.
No, they wouldn't, because yours is too concentrated.
No, it's not.
You've got about 4 stadiums in London alone.
Doesn't matter.
And you're using rugby stadiums.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Why are you using a rugby stadium?
Because they're better stadiums.
It's not better stadiums
yes,
at all.
Are.
No, I don't
You've
agree.
got no idea. I mean, no wonder the FA fired you. You've got absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
Hang on. In London, you've got stadiums of 90,000, Wembley, the new Chelsea, the new Spurs,
the new Chelsea,
70.
The new Chelsea, we don't know what the capacity is going to be.
The Emirates already is 60, so you don't need a Twickenham. You really don't.
Really?
And you've got a spread. And by the way, did you list Old Trafford and the Etihad?
Yes, I did.
So you have 2 stadiums in Manchester.
Why not?
You're mad.
Why not?
You're completely mad because
they're 2 great stadiums. Of course, you would use both of them.
I don't agree. The Etihad is a great stadium. I mean, it's a big stadium, and it's a substantial.
It was used for the Commonwealth Games. Pretty good stadium.
Exactly, a substantial sporting arena.
Yeah.
But Old Trafford.
Let's use Ellen Road instead.
No, I'm
Brilliant.
telling you, you've got to spread it. You've got to spread it geographically. They're doing every World Cup. Believe
Complete
me.
madness.
Believe me.
Porky's
Well, I've been to a few
plot.
World Cups, and you unfortunately haven't.
Go and take some more painkillers. This is talkSPORT. This is the 2 Mics on talkSPORT with Wix. Don't waste precious time. Try our online stock checker so you never have a wasted trip. A lot of people agreeing with you on this stadium debate.
They certainly are.
Similar numbers agreeing with me as well.
No, they're not. Not similar numbers at all.
Yes,
People know that I've got the geographical spread right.
No,
okay?
incorrect. No, here's one from Stephen. MG's talking sense again. He wins the stadium list.
Oh, rubbish.
And then he says something very disparaging about you, which I won't read out.
No, St James Park is a fine stadium, says Steptoe. Think MG is showing his southern bias here. Good to see man of the people, Porky,
Nothing to do with
sticking up for the
bias.
North, OK?
Absolutely nothing to do with the southern
and Sam follows that up. Oh, old MG wants to make it the London World Cup, doesn't he? While the man of the people, Mike Parry, wants to give it to the whole country.
Oh, excuse me.
Go Porky.
The London World Cup, which includes 2 stadiums in Manchester, 1 stadium in Liverpool, a stadium in Wales. How on earth is it a London World Cup?
Yeah, and then another 5.
Well, I'm sorry. London happens to be the centre of the universe as far as Britain is concerned, right? London generates all the income, it generates most of the wealth, and people can travel to London very easily. Yeah. And I'm sorry if you want to go and watch a World Cup match somewhere which is like Leeds or Birmingham, but I'm afraid you can jump on a train.
You hate people from Leeds and Birmingham.
I don't hate anybody at all. I just think that the best stadiums should be where the games are hosted because they have the best facilities and they have the easiest transport links.
Or is Tom endorsing it again? Good God, I agree with Porky for once. The medication must be working. How would you please so many central London games on one day, you oaf, MG?
Well, they wouldn't be all played on the same day, you oaf.
Lots of games are played on the same day.
Well, then lots of games can be played in Manchester, in Liverpool, in Wales, in London. Get a life. This is Roger in Loughborough. Hello, Roger.
Yeah, morning guys.
Yeah. What would you like to say, Roger?
I have to agree with your colleague there that it has to be geographical. Rugby union, for instance, we had the World Cup a couple of years ago.
Yes.
That was geographical.
Yes.
The stadiums had no problems whatsoever.
Yeah, but the rugby union doesn't have the same kind of crowds, though, Roger, does it?
Well, if you gave them the stadiums to play in, then I'm sorry, but that they would.
Well, that's precisely my point then, isn't it? Because if you give them a smaller stadium like Southampton, would you not rather have a World Cup game at, say, the Emirates where they could get more people in?
Not really, because you've got to give everybody.
Oh, so you want it both ways. So you want to give it to everybody, but you want to use bigger stadiums, but you can't.
No. For instance, the stadium just up the road from me at the moment, Leicester City, I was listening to their station last night. They're doing a feasibility study into putting some more seating in there.
That's right.
There's, as you mentioned earlier on, there's Aston Villa. There's Nottingham Forest down the road from me. There's Derby County.
Yes.
There's a lot of stadiums. You
can't have the World Cup. You can't have the World Cup in Championship stadiums. You can't do it.
You can have it in good stadiums, and there are plenty of good stadiums in this country. Rog, what I'm saying is it's not so much the stadium, it's the geographical spread, and within that geographical spread, you find the best stadium in that area. You can't centre it on London, as MG wants to do.
I don't want to centre it on London.
Unfair.
I want to centre it on the best stadiums in the country.
No, you don't. As that. Well, you can't. That can't be the case. Why would you include?
Why do you want to put it in some ropey old stadium like Ellen Road?
No, I'm not having Ellen Road described as a ropey old stadium.
Really?
It's a fine
What is
stadium.
it then?
It's got the biggest independent cantilever stand in the world.
Great.
12,000 people.
Super. 12,000.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
It's all right, Rog.
I think,
understand
Roger,
it.
I think you're a bit mixed up, mate.
Not really. For instance, the Women's World Cup, the cricket.
Oh, please. They don't have any crowds.
No. Hang on a second. They're actually playing a game this morning at Leicester.
How many people are there? I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be like a queue outside the turnstiles, if you see what I mean.
You're giving the chance for people who normally won't be able to afford to go into London.
Yes.
I listen to your point about London.
Yes.
People like myself in this area, in the Midlands, you have to find train fare, you have to find accommodation.
Indeed.
It is expensive to go down to London to watch big sporting events. I would love to.
Yes.
I would love to. I'm a big sports fan. I always have been.
Right. Well, now that they've got the women's cricket in, where is it being shown?
Leicester.
Have you gone to? Have you gone to that?
No, I haven't, because I'm long-term unemployed and I can't afford it.
Right. So you can't actually afford to go.
I wish I could.
Well, you can't afford to go to it when it's in your own city, then.
Well, because,
Well, I hope you would.
Working, of course I would.
I hope you would, Rog. If I had anything to do, I'd make sure that everybody in the population had the chance to go, including yourself.
That would be
help.
nice. Unfortunately, we don't live in cloud cuckoo land. Roger, thanks very much for calling up.
Yes.
The bottom line is that, everybody can't get everything they want in life, unfortunately.
No, they can't.
Some people can't afford to travel, as he's said just now, from Leicester to London. That's unfortunate. Some people can't afford to travel inside Leicester to go and see something.
Yes.
And it's all very well spreading the wealth around the country, but as you've seen from the women's cricket, it's not exactly overflowed with people, is it?
No, but come on, let's be fair. Women's cricket is a perfectly acceptable game. It doesn't attract big crowds, we know that.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that you should be rude about the game.
I'm not being rude. I'm just saying it's hardly comparable to a World Cup.
You're being
dismissive. It's not comparable to a World Cup.
It's not comparable
Let's
to a
talk
World
to Patrick
Cup.
in Chelmsford. Hello, Patrick.
Hello to you, mate.
Yeah,
Yes.
Hi, Patrick.
What would you like to say, Patrick?
Yeah, I'm just listening to your conversation there about where you're going to hold it in England.
Yes.
Who's to say if the World Cup was to be taken away from Qatar?
Yeah.
Who's to say it's actually going to be in England?
Well, we're just saying if it was awarded. Well, we were just saying if it was awarded to England because England were part of the bidding process, right? It wasn't a UK bid; it was an England bid, wasn't it?
Yeah. But the way I look at it is, I think it's now time for somewhere like Australia and New Zealand perhaps to hold it.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned earlier on about the United States.
Yeah.
Do you not think it's a wee bit too early?
Well, no, they've got it anyway. We think they've got it in
Well, they've
2026
probably got
anyway.
2026.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
yeah.
I wouldn't have a problem with Australia having it. I mean, Australia were part of the bidding process.
Yeah.
They thought they should win it,
And
I'd be more than happy for Australia to have it.
Australia hosted a fantastic Olympics, no problem at all. But Olympics are mainly based on one city, one
that's
town.
because Sydney got the Olympics, not Australia.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, it'd be very hard it would be time-consuming to build 9 stadia, the same as the Olympic Stadium
Patrick,
in Sydney.
if you were going to nominate one stadium in Scotland to be part of the bid, what would it be?
Well, being a Rangers fan myself, it would be Ibrox.
Ibrox.
Yeah, but of course, Patrick, that Glasgow is the only city in the world that has 3 football stadiums with the capacity of over 40,000.
What about London?
Yeah, The thing is, though, Porky, is I wouldn't. To be honest with you, I wouldn't include Hampden in that.
No.
I think Hampden's a complete and utter toilet.
Oh dear, that's a terrible thing to say.
Is that just because Rangers don't get there very often now?
Oh, nice one. Well done.
Sorry, Patrick.
That's a bit harsh.
Sorry, Patrick.
Yeah.
I watched Celtic destroy Rangers a little bit earlier on in the season in the Cup semi-final, but I won't let personal grief affect that particular point you made. What are you talking about? Glasgow's the only city. What about London?
Yeah, but no. London now, as soon as the Spurs and the Chelsea stadiums are reappointed, right, will catch up. But you've got to remember, Hampden up to 50, and Celtic up to 50, and Rangers up to 50. Yeah. The only city in the world with 3 stadia of 50,000 capacity.
I don't believe
How about that?
I don't believe it.
Well, name the state.
I'm saying London.
No, it's not, though.
All right, we'll come back to it.
It's not.
We'll come back to it.
It's not yet.
Well, stop arguing.
You name them.
The time is short.
Wembley, Emirates, what's the third one?
I'll come back to you in a second.
No, you won't.
This is talk
it's
sport.
not there.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the two Mikes on talkSPORT. We've been talking an awful lot about Qatar in the first hour and what stadiums we would use if ever there was a World Cup to be awarded to this country, whether it was the UK or whether it was England. We'll keep taking your calls on that. 08717 3344. Kim Hughes is coming up a little bit later on. He's the author of Painting the Sand, and you'll be finding out all about that a little bit later on. We'll talk about Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton and the feud, of course, and we'll be going over to Poland to get some information ahead of the England under-21 game tonight, live on talkSPORT against Germany. You are, of course, listening to talkSPORT. We are the two Mikes. Now, according to the latest poll that we've got running on the Two Mikes Twitter account, do you want to hear more about Porky's sciatica or would you rather he shut up? Tell Us More is running at 44%. And Make It Stop is 56%.
Well, you see, that'll be corrected soon.
1 hour left.
As soon as the Porky Army get involved.
As soon as the Porky Army wake up.
Yeah, come on. I mean, look, I don't want to influence the poll, but if you've been suffering the pain and agony that I've been suffering, remember, for the last 11 years, I've been working this show with 1/3 of a heart, okay? Only 1/3 of my heart works. I've got frozen shoulder at the moment, which I'm also battling. And I did have some sort of, food poisoning or something.
Food poisoning?
Yeah, at the end of last week. Are you sure
it's not being targeted by the Russians or something?
Well, no, I don't think so.
To inject you with polonium or something?
I don't think so. But
really?
Listen, let me just tell you this. There's an awful lot of sport for me on the grounds thing. But before we get back to that, I want to tell you about...
before we move off it, I'd like to correct you.
Yes.
You were asking where is the other third stadium in London, right? There's 2 that have more than 40,000 capacity, in addition to the Emirates and Wembley. Do you know where they might be?
Well, the London Stadium, which has been around for 1 year.
Yes, well, well, it exists, right? So there are 3 stadiums minimum.
There are now, but I said that...
What? No, you're talking about now. No. We live in the present.
When I went to the Champions League final...
You said to me that there is only one city in the world that has 3 stadiums with a capacity of more than 40,000.
Yes, that's right.
Well, that's not true, is it?
When I went to the Champions League final at Hampden Park in the same year that you were there, what year was that, 2000 and...
I think it was 2002, wasn't it?
2002, that's right, yeah. It was the only city in the world with 3 stadiums.
Well, we don't live in 2002. It's now 15 years have gone since then. It's now 2017. And Chelsea's capacity is above 40,000, actually.
No, it's not. It's 38.
It's 41.
It's not.
It is 41,000.
And
why can't you just admit you're wrong?
By the way, I said up to 50,000, and also
you can still have the London Stadium at 60,000.
You can't nominate Twickenham. It's a rugby stadium.
I didn't nominate
all over
Twickenham.
The place.
I didn't nominate Twickenham, but without Twickenham, there are still 3. So you're wrong.
No.
Just say, in my words, yes, Mike, you're correct. I am wrong. Say it.
I'm getting tremendous support on this one.
Can you say that?
Now, let me ask you this.
Unbelievable.
To which stadium is Liam Gallagher associated?
He's associated with the stadium you don't want to be part of the World Cup bid, which is, of course, Manchester City Stadium, the Etihad.
Yes, but I think it's a fine stadium, but Old Trafford would be the choice in Manchester because of its heritage and history, and it's a bigger stadium, 76,000.
Well, I would have both.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't. But anyway, point is, Liam Gallagher has spoken out. Now, you know that Liam Gallagher and I have had a few harsh words over the years.
You're not a big fan of yours, is he?
Well, I'm a big fan of his. I mean, he's the original rock and roller. He was the ultimate
hang on. You
rock
say
star.
You're a big fan of his, but you have also said to him directly on a tweet that he's nothing more than a pub singer.
I didn't do... No,
that's what you said.
It's a joke. I said...
Well, he didn't take it very well, did he?
No. I said, these days, you may be just a pub singer because he plays small venues, whereas he used to play the biggest venues in the world.
Well, like Glastonbury.
Well, Glastonbury's fine when you're doing Glastonbury, but he also does small venues around the northwest. We know that.
Well, he does big venues and small venues.
He does big and small. That's absolutely right. And I was having a joke with him, but anyway, I'm sure that's all right. Now, the point is, when you're a celebrity fan of a team, you can be either a force for good or a force for bad. Liam Gallagher has been a force for extreme good here. He has actually said that if Pep Guardiola doesn't win a trophy next term, and he means a substantial trophy, he's talking about the Premier League title.
He doesn't mean the FA Cup, does he?
No, he doesn't. Or the Champions League. He says he's going to have to leave.
He also said that Guardiola has treated Joe Hart terribly badly.
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
He said it's absolutely necessary to win the title next season. We cannot leave it to Chelsea again. And he said all this to the French football magazine, So Foot.
Yes.
Strange name for a magazine, but
Why?
Then the French do have strange names for their
magazines. Well, they have a different language, that's why.
He said if we, Manchester City, don't win anything, then he, Pep Guardiola, will not be able to stay.
He's accused him of shooting himself in the foot by getting rid of Joe Hart so early in the season.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
He said he should have kept him because without Company and without Joe Hart, there was a lack of leadership in defence.
That's right.
Which is all entirely true.
Yes, and I mean,
Pep Guardiola doesn't seem to know much about defending, does he?
Well, Pep Guardiola as well, I think, is a little bit more remote from the fans than Liam Gallagher. I think Liam Gallagher is the spirit of the fans at Manchester City, a lifelong fan there, went through all the bad years with them and then celebrated the good years. So I really would like to hear from some of you Manchester City fans. Do you think that Liam Gallagher should get involved in the opinion sway of what you fans are thinking towards this season? Because I know you all want to win something. Or do some of you think that, well, hang on, he's a bit too big for his boots. He might be a pop star, but what does he know about football? People have competing views on that.
Well, I would imagine everyone who is a fan of Manchester City would be more than happy for Liam Gallagher to speak out about his club, because that's what he's got his every right to do. Why would they not want him to do that?
Well, I'm sure they would want him to do it, but is it helpful? Is it helpful to start issuing ultimatums to Pep Guardiola at the start of the season? That's all I'm asking, OK?
Do you think it might destabilise him?
Well, I think it might upset him. I think he might say, well, hang on, Liam Gallagher's a world-famous pop star. What's he on my back for?
Yes.
Anyway, the number is 08717.
Right.
Can you shut up? 08. Now, you don't do 08 twice. It's just because he interrupted me. I'm reading it again, OK? So here we go. Shut up.
Right,
this is the number.
So rude.
Can you just be quiet?
OK.
08717.
Right.
22 33 44.
Well done.
Yeah.
OK, there's the number. A couple more tweets. Porky, you're talking absolute rubbish as usual, says Josh. Who wants to play at Villa Park when you can play at the new White Hart Lane? #plank.
Yeah, but you see, you can't have them all in the same town. You've got to have a spread, because that's what a World Cup's all about. Just like the World Cup is put around different countries on different continents to spread the name of football and to bring the wealth of football to different areas, so it must happen if it happened in England.
Yeah.
We must have one on the South Coast. Brighton's a very, acceptable new stadium.
Oh, acceptable.
Yeah, but Southampton has a bigger capacity. That's why I opted for Southampton.
OK.
Southampton's also kind of more in the middle of the South Coast of England than Brighton is.
Huh?
It's more in the middle.
What do you mean it's more in the middle?
Well, if you take the South Coast...
Well, you're measuring it from the tip of Cornwall, Land's End.
From Cornwall down to old Dover and Folkestone.
Oh, yeah.
Halfway is Southampton.
Really?
Brighton is too near to...
Bournemouth's probably technically closer to the middle.
No, I
think it is.
No, I've looked at it. Southampton is the middle.
Would you like me to measure it for you?
You can measure it if you wish.
I will.
If you've got nothing better to do with your
certainly
time,
will
you
measure
fat oaf, because I can't understand why you get
so
involved in these sort of things.
Well, because I like to be precise about things.
No, you just like to be petty about these sort of things.
No, well, I prefer things to be correctly put out on the radio. For example, Jason in Birmingham has tweeted in, texted actually to 1889 to say that Istanbul has 3 stadiums which have that capacity and more. Yes. So you're double wrong.
No, I'm not. I'm not wrong about it.
It's got 4 stadiums over 40,000, 3 over 50,000. Another one from Talal in Hitchin.
No. I've been to Istanbul. Don't worry. I've had a look at them there. No problem at all.
Yeah, well, so you're wrong about that as well.
No, I'm not wrong about that at all.
Can somebody also help us out with the Bournemouth-Southampton-Brighton argument as well? Save me having to measure it.
There are so many positive tweets and texts in favour of me.
Good.
That,
as long as that makes you happy.
I'm not going to keep reading them all out.
Okay then. Excellent stuff.
Yeah.
This is talkSPORT.
Yeah.
Parker sends us a very nice tweet. Greetings from sunny Lanzarote. He says, chilling on the balcony with the 2 mics. He says, what was that phone number again? Read it out again.
Yeah.
0808
No. Don't be sarcastic. I do it so that those who are not as quick, sort of mentally, or can pick up a pen and write it down, know exactly what it is because it's burnished on their brains. Okay?
All right then. Kojak says, can we hear about that plank Porky sciatica now some more so he stops spouting nonsense about British stadia?
Oh, I see. It's one thing or the other, is it?
Apparently so, yeah. Let's talk to Danny, who's a Newcastle fan from the northeast. Danny, a very good morning to you.
Now then, chaps, I just wanted to make a quick point about the stadium issue you keep talking about. I have to say that once again I'm calling in and I'm agreeing with Porky.
Thank you. Well, has this happened to you before? Hey?
Well, it seems to be, I mean, I've got a bias towards Newcastle. I'm not going to deny that at all. Yes. But I've been to many other stadiums. I've been to some Championship ones, some League One ones, as you would assume. Being a Newcastle fan, I've been to quite a broad range of stadiums.
Sure.
Places like Elland Road would be absolutely amazing in a World Cup. And I think when you're a fan, a neutral fan, coming to watch football to this country, you want to see those different stadiums. I would be bored if I was in the European Union, I came over to England, and all I went to was the Emirates and Old Trafford and the Etihad. How boring would that be?
Why would it be boring? Why would it be boring?
Have you been to those? And I mean, have you actually been to St James's Park recently?
I haven't been inside St James's Park, but I stayed in a hotel right opposite it, and so I was very impressed by the visage.
Is it really?
Hey?
It's not quite the same staying in a hotel.
No, it's not.
Funny. I mean, I've been to. I mean, let's use Old Trafford as an example because I think it would be a bit unfair to the Etihad because of the strange design they went for. I prefer the old school classic style of stadium, but that's my preference. So let's use Old Trafford. I've been there for many, many Newcastle Man United games, and I tell you, maybe I'm being biased, but Porky, maybe you can back me up on this.
Yes.
What's the comparison in atmosphere in those two stadiums? St James's Park is immense, isn't it?
It is. It's huge. Like, and do you know what? One of these days, you're going to build your fourth side as high as the other three sides, if you see what I mean, you know?
But the reason, Danny...
We can get the planning permission for it.
Yes,
but Danny,
exactly.
the reason why the atmosphere in St James's Park is so brilliant is because of the Newcastle fans who are there, right? When you have a World Cup game there... Hang on, when you have a World Cup game there, it won't be the same.
Suppose England are playing there.
Well, if England are playing, that would be one thing. But if you had, say, for example, Germany playing France in St James's Park, what do you think the atmosphere is going to be like? Brilliant?
Yeah, brilliant.
Well,
German fans.
Yeah, exactly. German fans, French fans. I mean, they're absolutely brilliant people.
Exactly.
I think what adds to an atmosphere is the design and the layout of a stadium. I think you're losing a lot when you decide. I mean, I personally don't like stadiums that have gaps at the side. You know, like your Ewood Parks and stuff like that, where they have that. I like it when it's all the way around. So St Mary's would be good.
Yeah.
Elland Road is good. I mean, Newcastle's good. So I think when you get a bunch of German fans, a bunch of French fans, Polish fans,
that's right.
In a stadium like St James's Park.
Yes.
I'm not being funny. Etihad doesn't stand a chance.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine the Italian fans, okay? Italian fans all come up to Newcastle, get down on the quayside there, tanked up on a bit of the old Pinot Grigio.
They would absolutely love it. I mean, we'd show them a bloody good time, I tell you.
That's right. You certainly would, Danny, and I'm very grateful to you for ringing in and endorsing everything I said.
I hope the sciatica sorts itself out.
Oh, so do I, mate.
You've raised Porky's little head by about another millimetre. You know how happy he is when people agree with him.
He deserves it, to be fair. The only reason I managed to get through was because he read the phone number so articulately.
Exactly.
So well done on that.
Of course I did.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Well, thanks, Danny. You can go back to running Porky's fan club now that you've made your point.
Exactly.
How about this one from Urban Spaceman? He says, the Etihad holds 1,000 more than Anfield and 2,500 more than St James's Park.
Yes, okay.
So it's got a bigger capacity, so therefore it would have a good atmosphere.
What
Jacob says this. Sao Paulo also has 3 football grounds over 40,000 capacity.
Yes.
Marumbi, 67k. Corinthians, 48k. And Allianz Park, 43k. So that's 3 cities now which have been also named as having 3 stadiums. So your nonsense about Glasgow is nonsense.
I was talking historically. They've only just caught up this year, and they're only just caught up since the last World Cup.
That's
now,
not true.
Adrian here says, you are spot on with your stadium suggestions, Porky. How on earth would Iran versus Angola fill the Etihad Stadium? That man, Graham, is a fool.
Iran versus Angola?
Yeah,
that'd be
that
great.
sums it up well.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be watching Iran versus Angola apart from the television.
Oh, really?
Where do you think they should play that then? Brighton?
No, because it would be Southampton or probably Villa Park.
I mean, I think Iran versus Angola might have a bigger capacity stadium than you would expect, because a lot of people from Iran and Angola actually live here.
Well, some of them do. I totally agree, and some would travel.
I think, frankly, that's a bit of an ignorant remark to make,
no,
to be honest.
It's not an ignorant remark. He's using a simile about, smaller nations, football-wise, having to have an arena which is comparative to the sort of...
We're playing Regent's Park, then.
To the sort of support that they would gain. By the way, have you seen this breaking story? Google fined a record €2.42 billion.
That's an awful lot of money, isn't it?
By the European Commission for illegally favouring its own shopping service.
Right.
I thought if you were a company with a shopping service, you probably would favour that one.
Well, you probably would. I think the problem that the European Union has got is they believe that Google are sort of monopolising the internet. But, I mean, to a large extent, Google is the internet, and that's probably why they monopolise it.
But isn't it because Google's actually quite good at what it does?
Well, Google is the world's most sort of well-known search engine.
Yes.
If people say Google it, right? That's what they say. They don't say, ask James or whatever it's called.
No, that's
or,
right.
All these various other, ask Jeeves, right?
Or
all these other, or Bing, or any of these other search engines. They tend to use Google because it's the best known one and it's the best one, probably.
Absolutely. Anyway, you won't be surprised by the response from Google. Google respectfully disagree with the EU's decision and consider that an appeal against the record fine must be under consideration. Okay?
Okay. Here's one from somebody who calls himself Doddy. He says, Old Trafford has no atmosphere when Newcastle are there because they bore us to death. He's a deluded Geordie, says Doddy.
That's a bit
harsh.
Obviously
a Manchester United fan.
There's a bitter one here from Thomas. He says, the problem is, Porky, that nobody knows the potential of the atmosphere at Manchester City because it's never filled out. I don't think that's true at all, is it?
I don't think it is, no.
No.
There's a lot of rubbish talked about stadiums. The trouble is, it's very difficult to find people who will only have a neutral point of view.
Yes.
I mean, our last caller, the Newcastle fan, admitted himself that he was a prejudiced fan on the grounds that he only preferred a certain type of stadium.
Yeah, well...
So, I mean, he's entitled to his view, of course.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean he's right.
Yes.
How about this from John in Staines? I've noticed that most of the mainstream media are saying that today is the 50th anniversary of England's first cash point, not the middle of last week as Porky claimed.
Yeah.
But we just did it earlier than everybody else, didn't we?
We're smarter than the average bears and we anticipate these things. And the point is, although everybody says, it was today actually put the plastic card in the wall, I can tell you, when we did it last week, that's when they installed the machine. That was the day that they started knocking a hole in the wall and put the first hole in the wall machine there.
Also, I think John in Staines is being a little bit pedantic on the basis that it's today rather than last week. The bottom line is that we alone were the people that told you because the guy called in because his dad was involved in the in the whole project.
That's right.
That actually the machine didn't work. Yeah, and there was a guy inside it handing out the money. Which was the best part of the story altogether, really.
Yeah.
Oh, look, here's another city with more than 3 stadiums over 40,000.
Oh, yeah?
Buenos Aires.
Buenos Aires?
This is from the Liverpool Red.
Yeah, but I can tell you that...
So that's 5 cities now that you said didn't have stadiums, and you're not going to tell me that they've only just built them since you said that statement.
Well, the Buenos Aires ones don't count because they're hardly habitable. I mean, they just fall into pieces.
Habitable?
Well, have you ever been there?
I've never been there, no.
Yeah, I've been there and I've seen them. And I'm not joking.
There's 3 of the most famous stadiums in the world.
Do you know what? I don't think they'd get a safety certificate for 50,000 people
these
days.
They might not, but they have some of the best games and the best derbies there, don't they?
Well, they have the most violent and trouble-torn games there. That's certainly the case. But I really don't think that you
Are you at any point going to admit that you might have been wrong to say Glasgow was the only city to have them?
Look, it's a movable feast, looking at the World Stadia situation, you know. All I was doing was setting down a blueprint for the debate.
Right.
Which, of course, people were very grateful for and are now getting involved in. So that's a good thing, isn't it?
Peter says this, listening to that caller creeping to Porky, all I need now is a sick bag.
No.
Very true.
I wasn't crawling to him. I was appreciating the veracity of his argument, OK?
Richard says this. He doesn't quite understand, I think, what we were saying before. He says that Nigeria has more than 3 stadiums with over 50,000 capacity. It's not a city, though, is it?
What?
Nigeria.
Nigeria's not a city.
No, so that one, I'm afraid, Richard, doesn't count.
What about this one here from Dobbs? He says, fans getting to see and experience different cities will enhance their whole experience of a World Cup in England. So, everybody's agreeing with me, honestly.
Yeah, well, as long as that makes you feel fulfilled, that's the most important thing to me.
Yes.
This is talkSPORT.
Yes.
Star Sixers is reuniting some of football's great names in London this summer. You can catch the fast-paced six-a-side action at the O2 from the 13th to the 16th of July as huge stars compete in a Legends World Cup with 12 nations battling it out.
That's absolutely right. Now, Star Sixers boasts some of the biggest names in recent footballing history, including World Cup winners. The names that you can savour are these: Roberto Carlos, Rivaldo, Robert Pires, Alessandro Del Piero, and Carlos Puyol.
Puyol, yeah.
Puyol, Carlos Puyol.
Puyol.
Carlos Puyol.
So tickets cost £30 for adults, just £10 for under 16s. They're on sale now at star6s.com. Head to talksport.com/win right now for your chance to win 4 tickets to Star Sixes, as well as a shirt signed and presented by one of the Star Sixes captains.
Indeed.
That Roberto Pires was some player, wasn't he?
He was some player.
Brilliant. Yeah. Absolutely fantastic.
They all were.
Now, I've got a couple of tweets for you. Yeah. Here's one from Ray, who says, you seem to be forgetting, Porky, whose tournament it is. FIFA. Therefore, higher attendance grounds mean more money. And that is the bottom line.
Yes, but they have a principle about spreading the World Cup not only across countries, not only across continents, but across internally the country that takes the World Cup. That's why in America, which is a huge country, you know, they have Boston, they have Los Angeles.
They'll be putting them all in big stadiums.
Sorry?
They will be putting them all in big stadiums.
Well, every stadium in America is a big stadium. You know, you go down to Florida, you go on the East Coast, you go to West Coast, you go to Midwest, they're all big stadiums. You go to Dallas, they're all big stadiums. That's one reason why they attract the world's top competitions like the World Cup and the Olympics on a regular basis.
Indeed. Now, we're just going to put that conversation on hold. We'll keep taking your calls and your tweets as well. You can tweet us, of course, at the 2 Mics. We're now going to speak to a very brave man indeed, Kim Hughes, author of Painting the Sand. Yes. And one man's fight against the Taliban bomb makers of Helmand. Kim, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us. There's a lot of books written, I suppose, about various sort of sojourns into Afghanistan. Some by journalists, some by people in your business. But what made you decide to write the book?
I think for me, I think the time was right. You know, I've had a number of tours of Afghanistan, and to be honest, I kind of wanted to encourage kids of my age when I struggled back in the day. You know, the grass is greener on the other side. You know, the armed forces opened up a door to me, and I kind of wanted to tell my story to kind of encourage them that, you know, to go out and do stuff like that. And I think certainly for me the time was absolutely right.
Kim, you do an incredibly difficult job. I mean, some of the statistics in this book are utterly amazing. You know, on one tour, you defused 119 improvised explosive devices. Now, you know, I know you're an expert at your job, but in those 119, would one small mistake have cost you your life? Pulling out the wrong wire or turning a screw the wrong way or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certainly during that period in Afghanistan, there was no sort of quality control on any of the devices. So, you know, as good as you are at your job, you walk down the wrong path, or you know you're a bit heavy-handed or heavy. You know, it's just one of those things, and it could well have bitten you.
Yeah. Why did you choose bomb disposal in the first place? Because it's almost like there must be a much higher mortality rate in that sort of division of warfare than just being an ordinary soldier.
Yeah, I mean, I found it fascinating. I mean, I joined the army as a driver, and then I spent a few years doing that and went to Northern Ireland to drive the bomb disposal teams. And it was sort of the first time I saw the guy put on his big bomb disposal suit and walk down the road to the device. I thought, you know, he's an absolute lunatic. But for me, it was intriguing, and I wanted to be a part of it.
Did you have friends who lost their lives? I mean, famously, you know, when the casualties were coming back from Afghanistan, it was, well, it was almost circus celebrity stuff, wasn't it? Because these guys were so heroes. But amongst them were, you know, quite widely known bomb disposal experts.
Yeah, and unfortunately that was the case. I lost a number of friends during that tour. Yeah. And you know, and the British Army and every other nation lost guys, and it was just one of those. But certainly for us, because we're such a close sort of net team of guys, it sort of hit home and hit quite hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's the film The Hurt Locker, isn't it?
I was going to say, did you watch The Hurt Locker, and was it sort of as true to form? I mean, people thought I thought it was a remarkable film, because it kind of seemed to capture what the feeling is of somebody walking towards something that most people are running away from.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken about that in the book, actually. The Hurt Locker is very entertaining to watch, and it's like everything we do. If you watched a film based on what you do for a living, you'll probably find half of the film you stood up shouting at the telly saying that's not how it's done, and that's very much like The Hurt Locker, you know. But their entertainment, the factor of it, is absolutely a fantastic film. But we do stuff slightly differently to it, and unfortunately, not to take that away from people.
Yeah. Now, you won the George Cross for one tour of Afghanistan. I mean, that illustrates your bravery. how many people volunteer for this sort of thing, and how many people are asked to go in? Do you see what I mean? Are there enough volunteers in your branch of the business to keep this, particularly as you suffer casualties, to keep the service up to the level that's required to keep those roads safe in Afghanistan?
Yeah, I mean, back then we did struggle with guys, to fulfil the job, and that wasn't through people not wanting to do it. Everyone that goes into bomb disposal absolutely wants to go and do that job, but it's not a simple process, and the standards can't be lowered to be able to get the guys out there. So it's actually a very, very difficult course to pass.
Yeah, I can understand what you're saying, because just yesterday, my colleague and I were trying to put one of those cameras on a helmet, because we were on a motorbike, and we still haven't got it sorted. So I wouldn't. Well,
that's only because we were technologically inept with the GoPro.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is, I want to be a hero. I say, give me one of those heavy suits and just give me a pair of pliers and I'll sort it out. But it's clearly the person who wants to volunteer has got to be able and adept at doing that sort of work.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. And to be honest, if you don't want to do the job, or if you don't want to go and do bombs, then you shouldn't be doing that job. You should be doing something else. But every one of the guys that went to Afghanistan wanted to be there and wanted to sort of make a difference, if you will.
Yeah, I see. Fine.
Now, I don't know if you followed the story recently, Kim, of the sniper, because there's a story, I think it was last week, where this sniper from Canada was able to kill somebody in Afghanistan from 2 miles away. Sergeant Craig Harrison was the previous kind of holder of that record, and he, having made his name public, suffered a terrible time claiming to be that sniper because of all the death threats that he got, and there were kidnapping attempts. I mean, you're not worried, it's probably a bit late now to ask you, but you're not worried that by writing this book you'll put yourself in a similar situation?
No, I feel that everything that I've spoken about in the book is 100% fair. There isn't any controversial bits in there. And everyone's entitled to their opinion. I actually, I'm very close friends with Craig's cousin.
All right.
Unfortunately, the way things are today, stuff like that happens. Social media, etc., etc. But no, absolutely, I quite happily put my head above the parapet and, wanted to tell the story.
Yeah, and when you left the army, which I suppose you have done now, what does a bomb disposal expert do? Because I wouldn't have thought there was much demand in Civvy Street, for you to sort of, go around dismantling bombs.
No, I'm actually still serving.
You are?
Still, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, blimey! Well, that makes the previous question from my colleague even more relevant. Do you have to wear a face mask now when you go to work?
It might improve things. No, I'm part of 11 EOD regiment. I'm still operational with the guys there, doing a fantastic job.
Yeah.
I've still got a few years left in the army, so I'm still going.
And will you get into instructing others now? Will that be part of your role?
Yeah, I did that when I returned from Afghanistan during my first tour of duty. I was already in an instructor's role. I just moved up to what was known as a high threat team to teach guys to go to Afghanistan. So I've done that training role, and I've subsequently moved into an operational role now.
Yeah,
great stuff. Well, listen, Kim, it sounds like a terrific book. I've not read it, but I will be reading it. It's called Painting the Sand. Is it available in all the normal places?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but it's on Amazon. It's in all the bookshops. Go, just crack on.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us, and thank you for your service to our country.
And good luck.
Thank you ever so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks very much indeed. Kim Hughes there, Painting the Sand. What an amazing job that to do,
I was about to say, of all the jobs in the world that I would have chosen, even if I was technically able, the last one I would have wanted to do was bomb disposal.
Yeah.
Because the idea of, you go out to do your job one day, but you get blown to pieces because you crawl up and lean over a device that you've then got to sort of...
Which might be booby-trapped.
Well, it might be booby-trapped, and which you've got to dismantle. The bravest of the brave.
I see they found a World War II bomb just down the road here next to London Eye.
Yeah, that's right, they did, I can't believe how the courage of these men. No. What would we do without them?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Now, we've got to move on because time is short. However, I've got a couple of great tweets that I've got to read out. One from Luke says, who is Carlos Pyongyang? And Mangan says, I'm trying to ring into the show, but I'm not getting through. Have I got the number correct? He's got 0871 0871 72 23 344.
Oh, dear. No.
talkSPORT.
Well, that's only because the plank was interrupting me.
Love changes everything. Hands and faces, earth and sky.
This is the Two Mics on talkSPORT with Wix. Don't waste precious time. Try our online stock checker so you never have a wasted trip.
And how you die.
What's this? Why are you playing this?
This is Michael Ball.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right.
It's his
You like
birthday.
Michael Ball, do you?
I don't actually. In fact,
You don't like him?
I can't stand Michael Ball. Well, I mean, not Michael
That's
Ball.
a bit harsh.
No, not Michael Ball personally.
Yeah.
Against whom I have nothing, but his music is so sort of middle-aged to me and sort of uninspiring. And I mean, I'm not being rude here, but I'd rather sort of stick my appendage in a boiling barrel of tar or something.
What?
Than, I'm talking about, like an arm or leg or something like that, rather than listen to a Michael Ball record.
Okay.
It'd be more fun.
Well, why are we playing it then?
Well, because it's his birthday today. He's 55.
Oh, well, happy birthday, Mr.
And I
Ball.
thought we should pay tribute to a man
I'm
who
sure
has...
he's delighted to have such a fulfilling and fulsome tribute.
Yeah, he's definitely made a mark on the world with his records and all. I just don't happen to like them.
Absolutely. How about this one from Dodge, who says, why not let Sepp Corbyn choose the stadiums for the World Cup?
Yeah.
One in every city and free tickets for everyone.
Who's Sepp Corbyn?
Well, I presume that's his joke about Jeremy Corbyn.
Oh, I see. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like that. That's very good indeed.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
I keep up with modern trends and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Now, the latest thing to, be with the in scene and keep yourself toned up and all that kind of stuff. And in fact, a good place to meet partners in life is now to get into rowing.
Rowing?
But you don't have to go to anything like a river or anything like that.
Oh, right. You don't just go near water.
No, near water. You go to a gymnasium where apparently a lot of gymnasiums are taking the running machines out because people are tired of them.
Right.
What do they call it? The running mill, is it?
The running machine. Well, it's just the treadmill.
The treadmill, that's right.
Not a running mill.
No. The running machine, the treadmill, take them out and put in rowing machines.
Ah.
Now,
Didn't they always have rowing machines? I thought gyms always had them anyway.
They did, but they only had a couple of rowing machines, but they had 30 treadmills.
Oh, I see.
And now it's going to be they're going to alter the balance a bit.
But it's a different kind of exercise, isn't it?
Yeah, but apparently it's much better for you.
But rowing is all about the upper body, isn't it?
No, it's not necessarily, because it does your legs and your back and all that kind of stuff, And the rowing bit, people more and more are saying, well, there's a bit of evidence that, in fact, what's happening here is that the joints are starting to suffer as you get older, and you should change to rowing.
Okay.
Now,
it's less impact, I suppose.
Yes, that's right, less impactful. Now, the point is that, there's something else about being closer to the ground, which gives you more sort of mental contentment about, the position you're in, rather than having to stand tall and having all that jarring.
Did you never do rowing when you were at the King's School, Chester?
No, what happened was we played football in the junior school, then in the senior school, 11 till 14, you did football compulsorily.
Right.
But we had a very good reputation as a rowing school, King's School, Chester.
Well, that's why I'm asking you, because I thought you told me that some of them went on to be in Oxford and Cambridge.
At 14, you're allowed to then split and say, do you want to go rowing? Because we needed good rowers. And in fact, a very good friend of mine at the time, a guy called Terry Melia, he was very good at everything. He
must have hated him.
Well, yeah, I suppose I did a bit.
He was good
but
at
everything. He was playing off a golf handicap of about 2 when he was 14. He was that good at everything. Good at football. He would have been a star of the first 11 football team. But he suddenly announced, "I want to go rowing." Right. And then he became a star rower. I mean, he was very good at everything.
As I told you before, I did a spot of rowing because we had.
Yeah, you told me.
We had a guy who was in the Olympic rowing team.
Yes.
As our PE teacher.
Yes.
He was in the Munich Olympics in '72.
That's right.
It was Jim Clark.
Yeah.
And we used to go down to Putney.
Very good.
Where there was a tank as well. Have you ever done a tank?
What?
Which is where you practice rowing.
Oh, no, I haven't, no.
What it is.
Is that proper water?
Well, it's actually what it is, yeah. It's almost like if you can imagine a swimming pool, almost, but what's on top of the swimming pool are the rowing seats.
Yes.
So you're in
I understand.
either a 4 or an 8.
Yes.
And you have an oar, and the seat moves backwards and forwards, but your oar just goes into this stationary water. So you don't go anywhere. But you practice, the idea of rowing as a team.
But that must create an incredible force on the oar if you're literally pulling the blade through water.
Yes.
but not propelling the movement of the boat forward.
No, well,
I'm amazed yours don't snap.
Well, no, the seat slides backwards and forwards because that's how it works on the boat.
Oh, I see.
You know the rowing in a
of course I do. Yeah, it's on like
boat.
brass wheels.
Yeah, it moves.
Yes,
so what happens is you're pulling. You know, so you're exercising really, but you're pulling through water, but you're just not moving anymore.
Okay,
it's quite exciting.
Well, a lot of the rowing these days is done at home.
Yeah,
and the thing is that it's estimated 1.3 million people now use an indoor rowing machine regularly in their own homes.
Because I suppose it's actually less sort of big, and you can put it in your garage without having a massive, sort of refit of some kind.
Yeah, that's right, absolutely. Yeah. Now, the British Rowing Indoor Championships, unbelievably, this is the stationary rowing.
What, you mean stationary rowing?
Yeah,
well, how do you have championships for that?
I don't know. The British Rowing Indoor Championships, which is open to anybody, is held at the Lee Valley Vela Park in East London and attracted 3,000 entries. The junior event alone... 3,000 entries in the junior event alone.
Right.
Now, the point is that many people who've got these rowing machines at home now don't actually buy them, they rent them.
Really?
You can rent a stationary rowing machine.
Why wouldn't you just buy one?
I don't know.
They're not that expensive, not like a printing machine, is it?
It says that new designs are no longer as cumbersome or as ugly as early models. These days you can expect a polished chrome and even the gentle whoosh of water.
Whoosh.
Yeah,
bang.
It's got a sound device on it. It gives you a whoosh of water as you're rowing. And you row in your living room.
And presumably, a lot of them, they don't actually have oars, do they? They just have something that you're pulling on.
Just handles. Just handles that you're pulling on.
Yeah.
So you get this whooshing sound. So you whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
Maybe you could have somebody shouting at you just to complete the picture.
through a megaphone. You know, up this,
3, 4,
up the stroke,
whatever they.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
So I would tell you, I had a cross-country skiing machine once, which my ex-wife decided she wanted to buy.
I've seen it. I saw it in your place.
Did you? You saw it in New York?
Yeah,
yeah.
It was like a cage. I thought, I wonder if
it was supposed to be the all-round workout, right?
Yeah.
Because you had the two pieces of rope that you pulled, which were to keep you sort of your arms going.
So that was your sticks, was it?
That was your sticks, yeah. But you pulled that against the sort of tension, right?
Yes.
And then you had your feet in skis.
Yes.
So you would move your skis and pull at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, it's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried it once and I thought, this is not for me.
No.
She used it for about a month.
Yeah.
And from that point on, it then became just a clothes horse.
Yeah, well...
But she insisted on us bringing it back to London.
No.
So,
Well, you packed it up, took it apart, packed it up, and I bet she's never used it since.
Well, no.
Ridiculous.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know where it is now.
Absolutely ridiculous.
But, I mean, we moved into a small house in Primrose Hill.
Yes.
And there wasn't any room to put it anywhere.
Well, I shouldn't think there was. So it says here, the polished chrome and the gentle whoosh of water as you row in your living room.
Yeah.
Brands such as the best-selling Concept 2 have made many of their machines in fold-away versions. So your own machine can actually be folded up and put under the stairs, OK?
So if you're renting it, though, I mean, how much does that cost? Does it say?
Let me find out. The water rower uses a flywheel and a circular tank of water to stimulate the resistance of rowing. So that's attached to a tank of water at the end of your rowing machine.
I see.
Handcrafted from solid American black walnut.
Yes.
It costs £1,149.
That's quite a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, and is attractive enough to leave on display. Don't put it away. It looks like a part of a piece of the furniture.
I very much doubt that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't be leaving it out.
I tell you what, though,
leave it out.
It's what it's all about now.
Yeah. So you're going to get one then?
Well, I don't think so.
Why not?
That'd
be good for your sciatica.
Actually, it might be, Do you know, you've planted a thought in my head.
Well,
you have planted a thought in my head.
I want you to buy the most expensive rowing machine you can.
Do you know, this could be incredibly good for your back and everything, couldn't it?
Yeah, it could.
I better go back and see the old chiropractor and see what he says.
Yeah, I think you should get one.
Yeah.
Definitely. And we want to see pictures.
Here, using the MET rate...
You've seen the time, by the way.
Hang on, here. Don't worry about the time. This is important. Using the MET rate, which is a measure of exercise intensity...
MET, right.
We can compare activities directly. Right, it shows that rowing burns at 12 to 14 METs.
What are they?
Well, an MET...
calories.
It's a measure of exercise intensity.
Well, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, well, right. So, in rowing, it burns at 12 to 14 METs.
Yeah.
Whereas running is only... 8 to 12 METs.
Really?
And get this one.
Go on.
All these nutters on wheels, all these nutter cyclists.
Yeah.
Cycling is only 6 to 10 METs.
Yeah, well, so you get more exercise on a rowing machine.
You do.
You should definitely get one.
Calorie burn is the best at 6.7 miles an hour. How about that?
Yeah, I'm very impressed.
God, that's fantastic.
This is talkSPORT.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the Two Mikes on talkSPORT. Coming up in this hour, we're going to do a little bit of listography. We haven't really chosen it yet, but we'll try and do that in the next few minutes. So if you've got any ideas for us, by all means, hashtag it listography, tweet it at the Two Mikes, and we'll pick one. It might be something to do with travel, it might be something to do with rowing, you never know. I have to say, I've got a great one from Marky here. He says, Porky would be better off pricing up caskets than rowing machines in his current state.
Yeah, it's very nice,
which
isn't
is
it?
a bit harsh, isn't it?
Oh, blimey,
But anyway, we've also got a lot to talk about. We've got England under-21 game. Henry Winter's going to be joining us. And, of course, we're going to be talking about Crystal Palace's new manager. Can he really turn them into Ajax? 08717 223344. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on talkSPORT. Right, now, big game coming up tonight at 4 o'clock. It's live, of course, right here on talkSPORT.
Certainly
it is the England under-21 team against the German under-21 team. There is a bit of an inauspicious connection, though, because England got knocked out by Iceland this time last year. And back in 2010, lost 4-1 to Germany in their famous Frank Lampard game.
And guess who I was sitting next to in that stadium when that happened?
Who?
Henry Winter.
Is that right?
Well, absolutely right.
What a coincidence, because Henry Winter from the Times, the chief football correspondent, is right here. Henry, very good afternoon to you.
Chaps, how are we? I've come on to talk about Mike's sciatica.
Yeah, it's all the rage, you know.
It is,
He's managed to get some treatment for it yesterday, so he claims he's on the mend slightly.
I hope so. Henry, that day in South Africa, 2010, that was a low point in English football, wasn't it?
It was very low. I mean, I think we all remember that Mesut Ozil turning away from Gareth Barry.
Yeah.
You know, his pace, and England just looked leaden-footed.
Yes.
Obviously, there was a controversy over the Lampard goal, and the only good thing that came out of that was that goal-line technology came in.
Exactly.
But no, it was pretty humbling. And I actually think it's one of those moments where the FA looked at it and thought, we can't just carry on doing like this. Let's invest more in coaches, in skills coaches.
Yeah.
And something we've got to do even more of is invest in grassroots. Because you mentioned Alfie Mawson earlier. He didn't come up through a usual sort of gleaming Premier League academy route. You know, he's playing at Maiden United in front of 400 fans.
Yes,
so,
that's right.
We've got to remember both ends of the game.
Yeah, we have. And so you said that, you know, maybe the FA had a rethink there. Is that rethink now flourishing? Is it bringing results? And could those results translate into, you know, a famous victory tonight?
Well, the under-17s have done well, got to their final. Obviously, the under-20s did brilliantly in South Korea, becoming champions of the world at that level. England are missing one or two players, like Ruben Loftus-Cheek is injured, and Marcus Rashford is now considered embedded in the team. But you look at the Germans. The Germans are missing, they've got 7 at the Confederations Cup and 4 injured as well. So their strength in depth is awesome. England do have a chance tonight, particularly if they unleash their greatest strength, which is their pace. I mean, you look at Redmond. If he's fully fit and Redmond can go at them, he'll cause them problems. Demarai Gray, I thought, was underused by Leicester City last season. Whenever he's come on, whenever I've seen him, he's looked a threat, that pace. And I watched the Germany game against Italy, and it was a slightly strange game because they both had the result to take them through. But that defence can be got at. But, you know, this is still Germany, and we've been down this Autobahn before.
Indeed, we have.
Talking of being down the Autobahn before, what do you make of Adi Boothroyd's comments this morning, where he's talking about how, you know, they've been practising penalties for 3 weeks? I mean, there's lots of jokes to be had, I suppose. I think it's a great idea to practise penalties. Porky's not so sure.
Well, I think it's a very good idea. I mean, 2006, England had a friendly against Jamaica at Old Trafford just before they went out to Germany. And one or two of the players and one or two of the FA staff agreed that they should have a penalty shootout at the end of the friendly against Jamaica when you still got a full stadium. And it was pulled at the last minute, even though the opposition had agreed. And I thought that was a huge miss. And I think it's good now that all the age group teams, at the end of their games, particularly the friendly games, they actually do stage shootouts just so that it's drilled into the players and it takes some of the sort of psychological elements out of it. I think it's very important that they're now sports psychologists working with the younger age groups, building up their confidence so that we have that mentality that the Germans take for granted. I mean, it was quite funny. Adi Boothroyd and Alfie Mawson were held up in traffic. They were late for the press conference yesterday, and the German journalists, one or two of them, were just saying, well, they must still be practising penalties, and they're just waiting for one to go in.
Yeah, well, you see, that's why I thought, I mean, I'm not against them practising penalties, but what the comment said was that for the last 3 weeks we've been practising penalties. Now, you know, I just wonder whether we should be a little bit more positive about the outcome of the game, you know, instead of it inevitably going to penalties. And if the Germans are now taking the mickey out of us because, you know, the English, they still practice the penalties, I'm not sure if that's a, you know, positive mind game type move.
Well, I think if we're practiced and been better at penalties, then we might have had more of a chance in tournaments in recent years. I mean, I've sat through all these. I mean, seven shootouts out of 8 in tournaments England have failed in and have gone out on an inability from 12 yards. So, it's definitely worth practicing. We always used to have this argument with Glenn Hoddle. He said you can't recreate the atmosphere. But, you look at the top golfers in the world. Yeah. They go off onto, quiet fairways and putting greens and practice. Yeah. So they've got their technique, everything in the zone, whatever they want to call it. Yes. So when they are standing over the 18th at St Andrews with a packed house with the Open to win, they practiced it. So I do think it's right. The Germans don't practice it, but, they've just got a certain strength of character. They've just got up and take them.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's because people say you can't practice the state of mind you're going to be in. But I'm with you, Henry. I think that the more sort of the mechanical side of it is done, the less likely that part of it is to break down if the psychological bit doesn't sort of work too well. That's different, Now, let me ask you a quick question about something else, just because you've probably seen this. I know you're busy over there in Poland, but no doubt you've seen the story about Shrewsbury deciding to become the first Football League team to have safe standing. Do you think this is going to be the beginning of a sort of a massive tip of the iceberg becoming, huge and letting everybody else in on it?
Well, there's an issue with atmospheres. Everyone understands that. And I mean, my initial reaction was the best way to address the decline in atmospheres is to reduce the away ticket prices, encourage more away fans, encourage younger fans, get more noise in the use some of this extraordinary broadcast money we've got just to create an even better atmosphere. So I think that's one way of doing it. I think it's definitely worth trialling. I think particularly as new stadia are being built. I mean, we've seen it in Germany, we've seen it at Celtic Park. I think there's definitely a discussion to be had, but with 2 caveats. First, the Hillsborough families have to be consulted, and secondly, this has to get past governments as well. And the government obviously got slightly more important things to worry about at the moment. But it is in the statute books, so that has got to be changed. And so the third caveat is what will the police and stewards say? So I think there's a long way to go, but I think Shrewsbury, I think it's very encouraging because look, we all go to games and so many people stand up anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
The strangest thing for me was that part of the reason we're doing it is to create atmosphere in grounds, Henry, and I don't think every ground's a library. I mean,
well, you're an Evertonian.
Yeah.
You're an Evertonian, and you've got a terrific atmosphere, and it's great to go there and Gladys Street, and I get all that. But I've been doing this job for 31 years, and I have seen, I've heard. Look, we all know the atmosphere's gone. Look at Wembley. It's partly the fault of the sort of design, a very distinguished architect, but the rake is too shallow, so you don't get that sort of ravine and the noise element.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
Which is something the architects have got to address. So, but no, undoubtedly there's a decline, and that's why probably about 1,000, 2,000 of our fans go over to Bundesliga matches at the weekend.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And of course, if you're an away fan at a ground, like I am sometimes as an Evertonian, we make all the noise anyway.
Yeah.
Well, exactly, but then encourage more away fans to travel and maybe site them, like in St James's Park, don't put them up in the gods. Actually put them maybe to one side of the goal and just whip up the atmosphere like you do there. Go to Craven Cottage, a championship ground, but I mean, it's you get a really good atmosphere there.
Yes, no, I totally agree.
Well, listen, Henry, enjoy the game later on.
Yeah, thanks,
today.
Henry.
It's live on talkSPORT. Henry Winter, the Times Chief Football Correspondent. We're talking there at the end about Shrewsbury Town, as Louis van Gaal called it. We'll be talking about Louis van Gaal because apparently he's been having a word with Frank de Boer.
He certainly has.
About turning Crystal Palace into Ajax, which is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, should we play like Ajax?
And now, how about this? Gabriel says, Porky rowing, he's more Vanessa Redgrave than Steve Redgrave.
Oh, that's very nice.
And Danny says, rowing machines burn calories quicker, but you won't row for 100 miles like a bike ride, so you'd actually lose less overall.
Oh, really? Is that what it says? Yeah, but it's more intense, isn't it? It's a short burst of exercise, right? I mean, cycling 80 miles is great, but it takes a long time, and you're a long way from home if anything goes wrong.
This is talkSPORT.
Yeah.
Out here in the fields,
OK, this is the Two Mics. We're on talkSPORT, of course, and we are with Wix. Now, don't waste precious time. Please try our online stock checker so you never have a wasted trip.
Do you know where Hailing Island is, by the way?
Hailing Island?
Yeah.
Yes, I know where that is.
There's been a great white shark spotted off the coast.
You're joking?
I'm not joking.
That's very close to the Porky Penthouse, you know.
Fishing journalist Graham Pullin says he's been chasing the shark across the south coast for the past 2 years. There's been repeated sightings off the shore in Hayling Island.
I've never seen the pictures of a great white off Hayling Island, and I can get to Hayling Island.
Well, you don't always see the pictures.
I could walk to Hayling Island, actually.
Really?
It'd be a long walk, but I could.
Not really an island, then?
Well, you go over a bridge. There's a footbridge over onto Hayling Island from the sort of peninsula, if you see what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
You like this music?
It's very nice. Who's
much
that?
better than Michael Ball, isn't it?
Yeah, much better. Who's this?
This is The Who.
And what's the name of the song?
Barbara O'Reilly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, O'Reilly.
Hey? Slimy O'Reilly?
Barbara O'Reilly.
Oh, Barbara O'Reilly, okay.
Yeah.
And this is because of?
Because John Entwistle would have had a birthday if he was alive today.
Oh, poor guy's
but
dead,
unfortunately, well, he died in a very, very rock starish way.
Yeah, how did he die?
He was found in a hotel room in Las Vegas,
right,
Nevada,
right.
Having spent the night with a couple of, shall we say, ladies of dubious honour.
Maybe groupies?
No, not groupies.
Oh, no, okay, yeah.
No,
okay, yeah.
and I think he paid for them, in fact.
A
lot of drugs.
Well, I don't think we need to get on to, ripping a man's reputation apart when he's not here to defend himself.
It's a well-known story.
Oh, is it? Okay, yeah, well, if you say so.
And the Who, of course,
still
still touring, but there's only now Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey left.
Is that, yeah, because
Keith Moon, the drummer's gone.
Well, he went at 27, didn't he? Was he part of the famous 27 club?
He was indeed, yeah. He was indeed. Anyway, great piece of music, much better than Michael Ball, which is what we played earlier. Now, let's have a talk with a Shrewsbury fan, or a Shoebury Town fan,
That's
Steve, who's going to tell us what he thinks of this safe standing scenario. Steve, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you, fellas.
Yeah, hi Steve.
What do you make of this as a story, and why have Shrewsbury suddenly decided to sort of announce this?
Well, it's great for the club, and also because our south stand is behind the goal.
Yeah.
If you don't know the layout of the club, but it's Shrewsbury. Yeah.
Yeah.
And basically, it's not, in the past, it hasn't been fantastically supported, I don't think. It's not been the best place to stand, not for me anyway. And the supporters' parliament have put it through, and I think the club are trying to either get it funded or trying to do some sort of crowdfunding type thing to pay for it.
I see, yeah. And why do you think that standing is necessarily needed back in football, Steve?
Because if you tried roaring, opening your chest up when you sat down, and you're squeezed into a little plastic seat.
Well, that's a very good point.
That is a good point.
Yeah, you're saying physiologically, it's easier to open up your lungs and raise the level of enthusiasm by standing up. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's why Adele doesn't sing "Sat Down."
Yeah, well, that's a good point as well. Steve,
Val Doonican used to sing sitting down, didn't he?
Yes, he did, but
he was very sad.
Yeah, he was, and so did that guy who sung about Durham Town. I'm going
Andy
to
Williams.
leave old Durham
Before
Town.
Before my time.
Yeah, I was going to say, Steve, have you ever been?
Chris Martin sometimes sings sitting down when he's at the piano.
Yeah, well, some people sit on a high stool and play the guitar, but I mean that's by the by.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, Steve, have you ever, during the course of your lifetime as a football fan, gone to a football match with your mates collectively, 7 or 8 of you, stood on the terraces and had a thoroughly good time?
Yes, I have. Many times.
Right, OK. Is that because you've been a Shrewsbury fan all your life, so your club, because they haven't reached the higher echelons of football, have not had to install seating until fairly recently?
Well, no, we had to install. We got a 10,000 all-seater stadium when we built it about 6-7 years ago.
Yes,
now.
that's what I mean. But before that, you'd have been a kid, wouldn't you, going to Shrewsbury with your mates, yeah?
I'm 55, so I went to the old Gay Meadow as a kid and beyond.
Right.
I stood up, and the seating was for the old boys.
Yes, absolutely right. So what I'm saying is, if you're in your early 20s, presumably a Saturday consisted of a few pints and then down to was it Gay Meadow? Still is,
Meadow,
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and a crowd of you, maybe 8 or 9 of you, would have a thoroughly good day out, which at the heart of it, standing on the terraces and shouting on your team, yeah?
That's what men did.
Yeah, okay. And you'd like to go back to that sort of atmosphere?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, and I think it does, when you go away. A lot of grounds, when you go away, you stand up naturally, and they never make you sit down. Yeah. And there is a better atmosphere.
Yeah. Do you think it'll boost the numbers, Steve, as well?
I hope so, yeah. I hope it will for the club, yeah, definitely.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
All right.
Well, that's great.
Well, listen, thanks for the call.
Steve, thank you very much.
This is the news, of course, that Shrewsbury, and you notice he says Shrewsbury, not Shrewsbury.
Yes.
They're going to be the first club to sort of introduce it, and we'll see whether that leads to other clubs doing it as well.
And this club is divided to Louis Van Gaal, called Shrewsbury?
Shrewsbury Town. Now, we've got sorts of Roy's, Liverpool fan, a second. I just want to tell you, Kate Partridge used to be here in this very studio.
Delightful lady.
Went off to Russia. She's actually tweeted and said that rowing is a great all-round exercise if you get the technique right.
If you get the technique right.
I don't know whether she's back here or whether she's still listening over in Russia, but very nice to hear from you.
Let's
talk to Roy, who's got something to say about rowing. Hello, Roy.
Hello, Mike.
Yeah, what would you like to say, man?
Yeah, it's, by the way, lovely bit of Dulcie. Hey?
Lovely bit of what?
Lovely bit of Dulcie.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah, great. Yeah.
Anyway, mine's sort of semi-related to what you were talking about before with the rowing, sciatica, what Kate Pastors is saying, you know.
Yeah.
My wife's brother, 42, has got to have a double hip replacement. Fit as a butcher's dog.
Yeah, except for his hips.
Because he was a black belt at Taekwondo.
Yeah, I see.
High kicking has left him in that state.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Well, Porky's in the same state, but he's never done a high kick in his life.
No, but the midfield general, Mike.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. You're absolutely right. But the Taekwondo, I did stay away from.
No, the only thing he's injured himself doing is clambering over other people to get up the corporate ladder.
But my whole point, Mike, is high-impact sports at a young age can come back to bite you in the bum.
Okay.
You've got a guy on who's 95, been doing it all his life and still fits the fiddle. But you know what I'm saying? If your body isn't the right...
Well, to be honest, Roy, I include in what you're saying jogging. I don't know why people go around jogging on hard roads. They're going to do in their knees, they're doing their hips, they're doing everything else.
High impact.
Yeah, I agree.
And every expert, every physio will tell you, do not jog unless you've definitely got suitable footwear.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And cycling, I think, is very good, very therapeutic. But these cyclists go off 30 and 40 miles, and
but they can come in a circle and come back. You know.
Yeah, but if something goes wrong halfway through your cycling, you're in a right mess. So, would you accept as a very useful exercise within the confines of your own home a rowing machine, Roy?
But does it go anywhere?
I would imagine, but if it was one that you could regulate the intensity of,
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I think you can do that, Roy. Listen, thank you very much indeed. We're running out of time here. That was Roy up
Going
there
warning
you basically that you should be very careful. Dazza says this: Porky only wants to explore rowing because you can't be done for being intoxicated in charge of a rowing machine.
Well, no, you definitely can't. But
because you can't go anywhere.
No, it doesn't go anywhere. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Talking of not going anywhere, coming up next, we got listography.
We have.
That's a great song, isn't it?
Brilliant
Road
song.
to Nowhere by the Talking Heads.
Talking Heads.
Yeah, David Byrne.
And the video...
Who is, of course, Scottish.
Is he?
Yeah.
I thought he was American.
No.
He's Scottish.
He's Scottish. His parents were both Scots, right?
Oh, okay.
And they emigrated to America because his dad, I believe, was some kind of engineer. Steve Lillywhite told us the story because he's worked with him, right?
Oh, okay.
And his parents, I think his dad was an engineer of some kind.
Yes.
And he got hired by a company in America.
Right.
So they emigrated.
Brilliant. And the video is about, because it was an MTV star, wasn't it? It was a little baby getting in a box and coming out as a man.
Yeah,
that's right, yeah.
Road to Nowhere. Anyway, the reason for the song, of course, is this is listography. This is where we tell 3 stories each.
Yep.
We've never managed 3 so far because you've always made them too long.
Yeah.
But it's 3 sort of madcap ways we got from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And this was inspired, I guess, by our trip yesterday from Skye to here.
That's right.
On the back of a couple of motorbikes.
That's right, yeah.
Have you had the bill for that yet, by the way?
What?
Have you had the bill for it yet?
No.
I'm slightly concerned it might be very expensive.
Well, it probably is very expensive, but I mean, it got us here on time.
It did.
We are devoted employees of talkSPORT.
Indeed,
we have no intention of letting them down.
Priceless.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, would you like to go first?
Okay, I'll go
first. Madcap journeys.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with my madcap journeys. Okay. Now, when I was 14,
yes,
or around about that. Slightly younger, actually, but
13.
No, I was a bit younger than that. But
12.
Anyway, the point is, it was about 13.
Okay.
Everton won the league title in 1970, and it was a night game. And I've told the story already about queuing outside the ground for 4 hours. The snow was down and all that. We won, but we had no idea. Chris Dowling and my mate at the King's School, who went on to become a doctor, by the way, an absolutely devoted Everton fan and great lad, whose family came from Liverpool but had moved out to Chester. So we took the afternoon off school. We didn't tell our parents, and we got over to Liverpool and waited outside the ground. So that was great, and the victory was great. Then, how were we going to get home? This was the big problem.
Okay.
So we managed to get.
So how did you get there?
We got there on the train.
Okay.
But we didn't have any money to get home on the train. It was as simple as that.
So, okay.
And we'd stayed celebrating so late anyway, we didn't even know if there were any trains, you know. And it was difficult in those days because the train didn't go straight to Chester. You had to go to Birkenhead and then go on an underground and then come up the other side. And it was too complicated. Right. So we went and waited down at the entrance to the old Mersey Tunnel. Yes. Because I don't think the new Mersey Tunnel existed. Yeah. So it was just the, what would it have been? That would have been Queens... I can never remember Queensway. Anyway, it was the old Mersey Tunnel built in the 1930s. And you know, we were just like two 13-year-old kids with an Everton scarf on. And we just put our thumbs up, literally. Yeah. I mean, we were trespassing. You weren't even allowed to stand on that.
Did a lot of people hitchhike around there at that time?
Well, I don't know. You know, we did hitchhike to a few away games. Yeah. We had already done that on Saturdays, you know. But anyway, this guy stopped in a Jeep, an open back Jeep. Yeah. And he said, "Get in the back, lads." Yeah. So we jumped in the back. In those days, it was illegal to even open your windows going through the Mersey Tunnel because of the fumes and all that kind of stuff. Right. But as we jumped in, amazingly, another 4 people appeared from somewhere, and they all jumped in. Oh, right. And so we were all in the back, and we were going through the Mersey Tunnel, and our scarves, you know, were trailing in the wake, and everybody's delighted and happy we won the league. When we got out the other side, we thought the guy was going to drop us. Yeah. So it stopped, and the others got out. And then I said to him, I knocked on the window, I said, "How far are you going?" He said, "I'm going to Chester." Yeah. I said, "Thanks." Right. So we stayed in the back, went all the way home.
That's brilliant.
All the way down the...
And how long did that take then? About an hour?
No, nothing like it. Once you're outside the Mersey Tunnel on the other side, that's time like half an hour.
Oh, okay.
And we rode into Chester, literally victorious. The first fans back from Goodison, because there were a lot of Everton fans from Chester who went there, but they were all coming back in cars and train, and it was the most delightful return from a most delightful night.
Very nice. Very nice indeed. My first one is in a speedboat going down the East River, because I was dispatched at the beginning of... I can't remember. It was a summer month anyway. Yes. It was Richard Branson who was going to make this transatlantic speed record crossing. And he was in a massive, great big speedboat. Right. Which wasn't like a speedboat at all because you were sleeping on it and all the rest of it. It was him and Che Blythe and I think somebody else. Yes. And they were setting off from the Water Club, which is on 34th and the river. Yes. You know, and so at some point or other, we were all told, well, as journalists, you're going to cover it. So you're going to come down to the Water Club and then we're going to travel out to the point by the Verrazano Narrows Bridge where the race is going to start, right? Sure. So I assumed, rather stupidly, that the race would start out by the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. And I was standing on Che Blythe's boat. Yeah. Just as he sort of was about to push off. Yes. And he said to me, "What the hell are you doing standing here?" I said, "Well, I'm on your boat." I said, "Aren't you going down?" So that he said, "No, we're not stopping. So if you don't get off now, you're coming with us to Ireland." Yeah. So he sort of shoved me off onto the quay, by which point I was wearing a suit like you always did, you know, and a tie. And so I had to go on one of the chase boats, and the chase boat was this little tiny speedboat, which I had to sit in, and it was the most rough and speedy and fast journey I've ever been on. Yeah. And it was so quick that it actually undid my tie. The wind undid my tie, and the tie flew off.
The wind undid your tie?
Yeah, that's how fast we were going.
Crikey almighty.
Because we were chasing this thing down the East River at about 30 knots.
Yeah, right.
Some ridiculous speed. Yeah. And, of course, all it did was it got to the Verrazano Narrows and just took off.
That's right.
So we never got anything out of them anyway.
So it went off into the distance and you were gone.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Then we had to come back. And I was quite hungover, I think, at the time. It was about 5 o'clock in the morning. Right, I didn't feel very well.
Okay. Now, my second one is when I decided to go paragliding in Mallorca.
Oh, yeah.
And what happened was you get a boat out to a raft in the middle of the bay.
Yeah.
And then what happens is you put on a harness. Yeah. And the thing is, because they don't want to waste any time between one person and another, you are then supposed to pay attention. And as the fellow coming right now, as the fellow on the previous one comes floating down, he lands on the raft, and they take the harness off him,
and just click it onto you.
Yeah, the lead from the boat, because the boat never stops. You know, the boat just comes out, it slows down. Right. So as it slows down, the parachute comes down onto the raft. They take it off, they clip it on you, then the boat speeds up again. Yes. Now, you're supposed to pay attention because the rules are you have to bound across the raft in 4 steps and leap into the air.
And just leap,
Yeah, and that gets your parachute up.
Okay.
Anyway, this girl was giving me the eye. and yeah, seriously, yeah. And I was kind of flexing my muscles and showing how good I was.
Yeah,
and
I didn't, one muscle.
I didn't notice the boat coming in. Yeah. So 1 minute I'm staring at this girl, next minute somebody's clipped on it, and there's this tremendous yank, you know. I mean, nearly broke my neck. And I got dragged to the end of the raft.
Did you not go face down in the water as well?
I did, because I got dragged to the end of the raft, and instead of having the opportunity to take 4 paces and leap, I went head first into the water. Yeah. I was like a submarine. I was like a torpedo, and I nearly drowned because the boat didn't show any compassion for the fact I was in the water. He just kept speeding up, trying to get some air into the parachute to get me out of the water. Brilliant. So I very nearly drowned, and eventually, on the point of drowning, I was thrown into the air. By this time, I thought, I don't want to be up here. I feel so ill. I'm full of seawater.
You were very fortunate at that.
Yeah.
Terrible. Absolutely ridiculous. Now, the other one I'm going to mention to you, because we might only have time for two at this point.
Right, go on.
And this is a helicopter ride I took. I was down in North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
And had been sent down there because there had been a terrible hurricane.
Yes.
Back in, the 80s sometime. And it done loads and loads of damage to what's called the Outer Banks, the islands. Okay, yeah. Where Sir Walter Raleigh first landed when he went to North Carolina. And the only way that I could get with a photographer to get a decent look at what had happened was to go up in the air. So the photographer said, look, we'll just hire a helicopter. Yeah. And there was a guy there who, I kid you not, was like a guy from Central Casting. Yeah. And he had turned out he had been a helicopter pilot in the Vietnam War. Wow. And he had a Bell Ranger helicopter, I always remember. And he's like, okay, guys, well, can you just come in? And he seemed like a perfectly normal bloke until he got up in the air. Yeah. As soon as we got up in the air, he turned into sort of maniac. And
doing stunt flying
He decided
tricks?
To show us some stunts.
Wow, yeah.
And he said, have you ever been in a helicopter before? And I hadn't been in a helicopter before. And the photographer had. And he was busy taking pictures.
He was
and I was just kind of looking. It was I think it was Harry Siskin from Florida who had come up. And so he was being quite calm and relaxed. Suddenly the guy starts flying upside down.
Oh, blimey.
And he said, have you ever flown upside down in a helicopter? And I went, I've never been in a helicopter before. This is my first time. He said, well, look, check this out. And he started flying upside down.
I didn't know helicopters could fly upside down.
Then he did that thing where you go all the way up and around, like a 360.
No. I'd have jumped out by then.
I was absolutely terrified.
I bet you were, yeah.
Completely terrified. We got some good pictures, though.
Oh, but it'd be brilliant, yeah. Okay.
So that's my two. I think we've only got two again now because we're out of time.
I've got a very quick one.
Well, hurry up then.
Okay, I was on the back of a Honda 50 trying to get back to the Trent Nottingham University. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'd been hitchhiking for 3 hours. I'd only got one lift. I was soaking wet. A bloke stopped on a Honda 50, smallest motorbike in the world. I had a bag with me. He said, get on. I got on the back. And guess what? Yeah. 200 yards later, I had to get off. We're going up a hill and it wouldn't go any further. That was it. Done.
There you go. You need a bigger engine. This is talkSPORT. Now, we haven't got a great deal of time here, I'm afraid. But I've got this great tweet that I wanted to read out to you a bit earlier from Gary the Eagle, who says, hey, guys, any chance of hearing a Porky impression of our new leader down at Selhurst?
Yes,
Selhurst.
Well, I was going to say to you that last season we went to Sellers Park and did a live show there.
We did indeed.
On a Saturday.
Yes.
And we saw Mr. Parrish, the very able chairman of
he didn't like you much, did he?
Well, he had a bit of a go at me, I have to say. But I have to say, we go down to Palace this year and we should do
another show. It was a lovely spot we did it from. It was a really nice little bar, wasn't it?
It's a nice club. It was a social club for the best people. And this year maybe we see Frank de Boer, she's new manager. And we say to him, hey, Frank, I saw a mouse there on the stair. And
I understand he's going to try and keep Shammy Lee on as well.
Shammy Lee? I think Shammy Lee.
Shammy's
a good boy. He likes the Dashwire football. He plays Yorkshire football. And what I like about Frank de Boer is he say Crystal Palace, they play like Ajax. Yes. And also,
that's what I'd like to see.
Also, I have not come to a small club to go to a big club because I say Crystal Palace never be a stepping stone for me. No.
That's fine. Thank you very much, Mr. de Boer. This is the Two Mics on talkSPORT with Wix. Every day we give away £100 Wix gift card to the best caller. Yeah. And today's winner, I'm slightly miffed here by the way that all of these callers who get selected seem to be the ones that are very complimentary to you.
Exactly, yeah.
There's that guy, Danny, the Newcastle fan, who said that he was agreeing with you and he thought you were marvellous and brilliant and all the rest of it.
Yes, thank you.
And some people were suggesting that he was some kind of relative of yours. But anyway, he agreed with you that St James's Park would be a great stadium to host a World Cup game.
That's right.
So, Danny, the Newcastle fan, congratulations. £100 Wix gift card.
Excellent. And I do like some of these tweets we get. Lady Eilina, who is a regular correspondent, still doesn't get it that we're serious broadcasters.
No, some people don't.
Guess what she's written?
What she said?
I'm absolutely howling at you two. The maniac of a pilot with old MG and old Porky being dragged through the sea. I'm laughing so much I can't breathe. You're not supposed to be laughing, Lady Eilina.
Yes.
You're supposed to appreciate the fact we're serious broadcasters bringing you serious information.
Exactly. I had one earlier from someone who said, you need to learn to tie your tie properly if it gets undone in the wind at 30 knots. Yeah. Well, I can assure you that I had tied it quite well.
And it came off.
It came off because the wind was so rapido.
Absolutely. And what about this cruel one from Roger? Porky paragliding. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's a flying plank.
Exactly right.
Harsh, isn't it?
Some people saying as well that they don't believe that helicopters fly upside down. Well, trust me, they do.
Yeah.
And it did. Yeah. And it was terrifying. This is talkSPORT. Don't forget to follow the Two Mics at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV.